Back in the day, we were on dial-up connections. Internet was slow. There were things we did. Today, everybody is sitting on a gigabit internet line, and things we do today. All that kind of fascinates me a lot. Always did. And when you mix marketing to that whole piece, I think it showed me that agency business showed me that there's so much potential in how we can tell better stories, how we can connect with people better, and how we can put that message out, in this world of noise. Not trying to say that doing a cool campaign with a cool celebrity is wrong or bad, but when do you do it and when you don't is a question to ask. And that kind of comes back to the brand personality. A brand like Zerodha has a very different personality than other fintech players in that market. A brand like Zoho has a very different personality than a B2B SaaS company that we compete with. And there's so many of them. Nobody's wrong. But it's important to do something that is closer to who you are. I think understanding that is the biggest part of brand marketing.
Hello, and welcome to the HT Brand Leadership Series, a series of one-on-one conversations that we'll have with the country's best and the country's brightest marketing leaders who share their industry insights and strategies that have helped them shape their stories for their companies. Joining us today is Praval Singh, VP, Marketing and Customer Experience at Zoho, a leader who's closely associated with building one of India's most globally respected B2B tech brands. Zoho's growth story stands out for its disciplined approach to marketing, yet rooted in customer trust, long-term thinking. Today's conversation will try to unpack this philosophy a bit, Praval. I'm saying your name right?
Absolutely.
Fab. Let's get on to it. Praval, before you got here at Zoho, what do you like the best? What do you like the most in whatever marketing that you do here?
First off, thank you for having me here.
Pleasure.
And interestingly, before I joined Zoho, I was a customer of Zoho. So I was exposed to the product side of the business already. But back then, I was running an agency with two friends of mine, and lives were crazy, agency life, as you can imagine. There were no weekends.
No nights?
No nights. But of course, all of us were much younger.
Yeah.
There's more hair on my head than you can
Oh,
see.
you had?
Of course I did. And so that environment and working with some of the largest brands in the country, from a Samsung to a Micromax to a Maruti to everybody else, it was a fun life. We were having time of our life. And nothing except from work is what we would be invested in, speak of, at work, off work. The conversations were all about the campaigns, the projects, the brands we were working with, account expansion, new accounts, typical agency life, right? And I think after running that for about 4.5, 5 years, I wouldn't say I got burnt out, but I think the excitement of not owning something, because ultimately you're working with a client A, B, or C every other day, every other week, month. I think that something that started to bother me was the fact that you worked on some of the best initiatives with these brands and you take a lot of pride in associating yourself with them, but you own nothing at the day. So that whole idea of ownership, the drive, that, hey, you know what, this is my baby.
Solving a particular problem versus solving the problem. Is that how you'd put it?
Not just a problem. I'm saying not being there long enough to look back and see things.
Understood.
Because
so it was one tactical execution for a particular brand.
Always. And the ideas are always good, whether they come from you or from the brand manager or whoever. Execution is where you have a lot of fun. But what after that? What a year after that? I mean, you would talk about those campaigns at interviews like this, or discussions, or some memories you'll pick up from somewhere about that time. I remember we launched the Samsung Galaxy, the first smartphone that Samsung did, and it still kind of brings out vivid memories in my mind.
Speak about it.
Yeah, interestingly, we were 3 guys and a small team, all in our early 20s, and we'd show up to a brand like Samsung for business, and they would wonder that, are we even serious? How can a brand like that that large trust us with something. But we had that instinct. None of us had an MBA with us, but we had that instinct. We'd done a few things right. We got some projects early on, and then one thing led to the other. And then Samsung was launching the first smartphone. I remember Samsung Galaxy S. Today they're at what, S10, S12, I don't know, S22. But that was the first Galaxy S, 2009. I remember that. And we came on board to, idea was to mobilize the community, the influencers. The word wasn't there, I think, influencers. They were known as bloggers back then. And people didn't make reels.
Those days.
But there was social media, obviously.
Yes.
And we were all very active on social media. In fact, I met my co-founders as well on social media. And then we built that initiative. We did a multi-city blogger meet, Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore. I remember it was at Hard Rock Cafe in Bangalore. We got about 100 people in here, launched the phone, and then worked extensively with them to get the reviews out, etc. I remember it was so much fun that even before the phone was announced, we had like 3 of those phones with us in our pockets, moving around. What else as a 22-year-old, 25-year-old
You'd want in demand.
Absolutely, right? That, you know what, the next phone that is coming out is already with us.
Yeah.
And I think that drove us more than anything else. If you ask me how much money did we make in that campaign, it wasn't even worth enough to remember today. And it didn't matter. It was the fun, the joy, the passion of doing what we're doing, which some of the biggest agencies could not.
But that is a beauty when you build something and when you start from the very, very bare bone structure.
Absolutely.
And you keep on building on things that you love, things that drive you. Is that what, from then, the time when there was social media but no reels, there were bloggers but no influencers. Yeah. From that time till now, marketing has changed and evolved, and like how? What has that been a particular thing that you think has moved drastically?
I think the amount of content all of us are consuming today on the phones has gone significantly up. I mean, I remember there was a time when owning a BlackBerry was a thing. I remember getting one myself. All you could do and get a good feel about was the tactile keyboard.
Yeah.
Right?
Today, it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. And the BBM, the messenger piece, right? But today, if you look at it, I mean, for a lot of typing, you don't even have to type. You can speak in the phone, and it'll do a voice to text.
Yeah.
Right? It's only getting better every day, by the way.
Yes.
So I think how we interact with devices has evolved a lot. How we consume content has changed a lot. I wouldn't say all for good. The attention spans are, of course, down. I was reading about something yesterday where Netflix has already figured out that when people are watching content, they're already looking at the phone.
Yeah.
So they're iterating the films that are made for Netflix are made in a certain way.
So sleep was their biggest enemy. Yes. Phones are the biggest enemies now.
Absolutely. So I think that's the evolution we are talking about. Yeah. And as marketers, it's important to be aware of that evolution, that change. At the same time, when everybody has access to devices and phones, the best of technology, content, internet, I think it creates a lot more noise as well. So it's harder to stay relevant. It's hard to create content that will be consumed by a lot of people or remembered by people. It makes our job harder, I would say, as marketers. And I think then it all goes back to first principles. There's certain things that just don't lose their charm, right? I mean, no matter how busy I am, for that matter, I like to have a slow morning, waking up and having my first cup of coffee. Everything else is secondary.
Yeah.
The phone that I get, the car that I buy, and the cities I travel to is all. There's certain things that you take a lot of joy in not changing them. I don't want to change that. I think that is something that is helping a lot of marketers also create content and build campaigns. And more importantly, the other part of marketing, the not so cool part of marketing that doesn't get talked about a lot, and I was mentioning it to your colleague earlier, that why does marketing campaigns that create a lot of noise get a lot of attention, and why do people, I said that makes marketers look good because it makes your CV look good.
Yes.
Versus you building an initiative from ground up, which is something on customer education, right, doesn't get talked about a lot. I mean, I was giving this example and I often quote this. the kind of work that Zerodha is doing on education, on educating people on better investment, is phenomenal. But it's not very cool and fancy
Yes.
for people to talk about, and it doesn't get talked about. But the fact that I'm mentioning that here and not a crazy campaign by a brand on the streets tells a story as well.
Yes, that it has probably done its job.
Exactly. So, and I think what is happening is when brands look at things with a long-term lens, it starts to stick on the wall. And I've seen that from close quarters. And while I had fun doing that thing with Samsung back in the day, nobody remembers that today. Or maybe the people who came there had fun would. But I'm sure they had better meets to attend, fancy places to go to, newer phones and whatnot, right? More charisma, more drama.
More attention.
Absolutely in life. But there's certain things that, like I said, that are close to you because they are done with first principles. They're solving a real problem, education for that matter, which also rests with marketing. And I mean, good marketing is also about educating your customer to make a conscious call.
Praval, let's get back to the first principle point that you were at, right? You've been a marketer, right? A very young one at that. When you did that one shiny S series launch with that
Did
phone.
you just call me old?
Not yet. When you do that, from then till now, marketing of course has changed, and we spoke about it, we touched on it. But there's something first principle about you as an individual that would have made you gravitate towards marketing. What was that?
Yeah, so I managed to get a computer science degree. Managed to is the key word there. Started the business while I was still in college, this agency business.
Sure.
That kind of exposed me to marketing, I would say. That was my B school. That's what I joke about. I didn't go to a B school, but that 4.5, 5 years of running business was my B school. And I had fun at it. Learned a lot of things. Everything from how do you sell to how do you serve, how do you bill, how do you chase for payments.
How do you retain?
Everything.
How do you replenish?
Real life B school is what it was.
Sure.
I think that and I was always fascinated with technology. I did a computer science engineering only because I was fascinated with computers from very early days. As early as when the internet came to India. Okay.
Wow.
I had internet connection and things like that. So that fascinated me about what people and products together can do. How we interact with products, how we, what we make do with what we have. Whether back in the day we were on dial-up connections, internet was slow. There were things we did. Today everybody is sitting on a gigabit internet line, and things we do today. All that kind of fascinates me a lot. Always did. And when you mix marketing to that whole piece, I think it showed me that agency business showed me that there's so much potential in how we can tell better stories, how we can connect with people better, and how we can put that message out, in this world of noise. Not trying to say that doing a cool campaign with a cool celebrity is wrong or bad, but when do you do it and when you don't is a question to ask. And that kind of comes back to the brand personality. A brand like Zerodha has a very different personality than other fintech players in that market. A brand like Zoho has a very different personality than a B2B SaaS company that we compete with, and there's so many of them. Nobody's wrong, but it's important to do something that is closer to who you are. I think understanding that is the biggest part of brand marketing. Every campaign, every idea can be outsourced. I believe that. Right? There are always smarter people sitting outside this room, is what I feel in this world.
Sure.
But when you are close to the problem, when you're close to the DNA of the company that you are, I think then you're able to distinguish and differentiate very easily between this is something we would do as a brand and this is something we would not. It's not a money problem then.
Got it.
And I think that is the essence of looking at marketing, and that is one thing that hasn't changed over the years for me, at least. Back from my consumer marketing days or
then
to now B2B.
B2B SaaS today.
I think I've kept that close to me always. Yeah.
Yeah, as someone wise said, to build anything that truly lasts, it takes time. Right?
Yeah,
Was it you?
Good things.
Who was it? Was that idea or a thought or was that phrase something that came out of the room, or was it within
No,
the room?
so the idea was to build a brand film after all these years of, and again, we've been low key on marketing, you know that for the
Why?
most part.
Why?
It's a conscious choice of doing more and talking less to
Okay.
begin with,
Okay.
at a very simple level.
That is your brand personality that you define
That's
for the
who
brand.
we are, because as a company, we are very R&D heavy.
Okay.
Most colleagues of mine, and again, credits to people who've built the company in the last 30 years. I've only been around for 14 odd years. The people who've been around here for 3 decades have built all those
Yeah.
products and technology. Unfortunately, they don't get to sit here and chat often. Most of them don't even want to, trust me. They're happy doing what they're doing. You know, and that gives us the opportunity to bring out their work outside. So I think for the longest time, the company has built with those principles of staying frugal, staying humble, and heads down, focused on building stuff. We did this for the longest time, we still do. But at some point, we realized that we should be talking more about this.
Okay.
And that is how we started doing things. And what you see now is a result
Is
of
a
all of that.
manifestation of that need.
Absolutely. And one thing that came out was when we decided of doing a brand film, realized what are the core metaphors that would explain who we are? What are the core principles of philosophy or the cultural fabric that we're all proud of? And on that, we engaged with an agency called Bombay Local in Mumbai. Bunch of young guys, very smart, this thing. And they
Reminded you of the good old times.
absolutely did. And we could connect, we could sync. We had long conversations about what we want to bring out. We're not looking at a fancy AI, whatever. We're going to win the world with AI kind of a campaign, right? We're going to build something which is more inside out, very true to us. And during those is what it came out that to build anything that truly lasts, work like that. It takes time to build this, and that's how Zoho has been built. While it's very easy to sit here and talk about the company looking back, but it took a lot of time to come here.
Yes.
And it will take a lot of time to go where we are moving. But the idea is that's the direction, that's the momentum, that's the vision that we have. And we've done it very differently, and we thought it's the right time to talk about it. So that's how the whole campaign framed up.
Yeah. But Praval, let's talk about this segment a bit more. Marketing communications continue to evolve, right? Time that we spend, attention that we grab as marketers of our consumers is just falling off a cliff. There's so much amount of clutter. There is so much amount of clutter that residual need state of what a consumer is, it's very difficult for marketers to stay clued into that and capture that. When we now take a step back and now where we communicate who we truly stand for, it might not be that sexy for a consumer anymore. Because hey, there are 5 different guys, there are 5 different brands wanting to capture the same amount of attention with a bit more drama, with a bit more attention screaming need state, and probably succeeding at it. How do you stay competitive in that space where transience and attention are far more easy to be grabbed versus staying true, humble to the core values and need state of who we really are?
Sure. I would answer this from a B2B lens first, because that is closer to where I am. The good thing is, most of us don't wake up on a Monday morning looking for an accounting software or a CRM.
Sure. I hope they did.
Yeah. Because the nature of the purchase itself is
so
you
much.
don't buy and replace business software every other day.
Yes.
It's not a brand of shoe or a energy drink or
Not an
something.
impulse purchase at all.
Absolutely. Okay. And there is cost involved in transition. When I say cost, I don't just mean monetary cost, but
Correct.
internal buy-in, adoption, legacy. Those decisions are made not just by watching an ad
Yeah.
or by seeing a celebrity endorse it.
Yeah.
Good for us. We don't have a celebrity to endorse Zoho. We don't want one. A customer, when she chooses a CRM or an accounting software or an HR software or an email software, looks at who else is using it. Are they happy or not? What capabilities does the product offer?
Got it.
How affordable it is.
Fair.
Then you wonder, then what's the role of marketing? Where does a brand campaign come in? Brand campaigns help you be at the top of your mind.
Got it.
association is where I think if people associate what Zoho is with that campaign that we do, any campaign for that matter, I think our job is done. When people are thinking about a CRM or an accounting software or whatever business software, does Zoho come to their mind?
Fair.
If it does, our job is done from a brand marketing perspective. Everything else is further down the funnel. And there are other aspects of marketing. There's customer marketing or retention. There's awareness that you create. There are touch points you create for evaluation, right? And then, of course, there is sales you work very closely with in closing business. It may need a demo. It may need some POC. There's a whole drill of how you sell B2B software, especially to larger organizations, right? But capability, affordability, and who else is using it in my circle? Reference, all that really, word of mouth, all that really helps. And I think B2B marketing orchestration is all around that. Okay, and that's how teams are split as well. You have an events team that will do in-person events for creating that in-person experience. There's obviously PR team that will work with media houses. Then you have your brand marketing team, your social media team, your enterprise marketing team, because ultimately you're looking at in a more targeted way. And as you go up market, as you go more industry specific, you will have folks who will be trained for a vertical. I mean, for example, we're playing in the BFSI world and the auto world very extensively, right? Now, understanding that space, because when I sit with you as a CIO from a leading automobile company,
you would want to speak of remote manufacturing.
Absolutely.
You would want to speak of that.
Because otherwise the conversation won't last beyond
Correct.
a few campaigns that we did.
Yeah.
Right? You have to talk substance. So building that team, that capability, A, from the product standpoint, technology standpoint, secondly, from a business functional standpoint, is important. That's how the whole orchestration works in the B2B space.
But Praval, it's not as simple as you put it, right? Because an organization like Zoho, very wide, very diced at that, where there's so many verticals, so many products and sub-products. You might have one A brand, actually not more than that, but 55, 60 plus brands here. And then you cut this matrix longitudinally again with a kind of cohorts that you'd want to get out to, the CIO, the CMO, the owner, the finance guy who'll take that purchase. It's not complex at all. It's very, very complex. It's not that simple as you say it is. How do you bring it all together?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting observation, and rightly so. Unlike most companies, we have too many competitors, players, because we compete with everybody who's doing business software. We have a suite of 55 to 60 different applications, because our larger premise is, if you're running a business, you need technology, obviously, some software.
Yes, should.
Quite likely we have it. So we become a single platform where you have everything from your sales and marketing side to your HR, your back office, your lead, everything is there, right? The whole workflow, project management, email, everything. And I'm not saying it for the sake of putting it out, but we are today a 20,000 people company. Zoho runs on Zoho. We don't use third-party software for the most part. Everything. On business travel and expense I file, to a legal contract I sign, is all on our own tools. From e-signature to expense filing to email,
Fair.
to name it. A presentation I make to a spreadsheet that I'm working on is all Zoho. So if Zoho runs on Zoho is a strong testimony that most businesses can run on Zoho. And we're only 20,000 people. So the biggest of customers of Zoho are tens of thousands of users. Okay. So I think what the challenge it brings is, as you said, too many products. Everybody competes with different companies in that space. HR space is very different from a CRM space. And then there are segments, of course. Certain products are enterprise ready. So we are also going up market, talking to the C levels of a large company. It's fairly complex internally as well. Okay, I mean, so much so that I would probably have to spend a day here to explain your org structure. It's pretty complicated. But it's complicated because a lot of it is not done in a very structured manner, as in there's no force structure into play. It's by design.
Got it.
There's a bit of madness by design. And that comes from the very fact that the genesis of the company is A, autonomy, B, trust. So, and we believe people deciding on something should be the ones sitting closer to the problem,
Okay.
not someone necessarily who's sitting at the top.
Got it.
So you decentralize decision making, you give autonomy to people. They make mistakes, obviously, all of us do. We learn, we get better. And over time, that learning compounds. So your judgment gets better,
Yeah.
your confidence gets better. Shielded with trust, you're able to do good work. That's how we've seen people grow at Zoho.
And it makes sense, Praval. It absolutely does. Because even as complex as it might be, if I now look at the highest common, the HCF of what each of those personas will be most interested in, the only precious commodity will not be money, will be time. Hence your campaign. It all makes sense, and I can see it
That's
come
how it
through.
has worked for us. And again, I still walk into meetings and events and airports and where, and then people tell me, "Hey, I didn't even know you have a product like that does A, B, or C. I knew about this and that, but not about that." I said, "You know what? Sometimes I myself discover it much later."
There's a Zoho for it.
Yes, in fact, my team did a web page or this thing that there's a Zoho app for it. So you have a problem, quite likely there's an app for it, right? So it's an interesting story to tell, but discovery is hard. And of course, every product cannot be treated the same way. The propensity is different, the market opportunity is different, revenues are different, budgets are different. So you won't see billboards for every product of 55, the suite of 55 products that we have, right? So there are certain land products which we believe have high propensity for customer to come on board.
Fair.
And then there are expand products. So if you become a customer for my invoicing software, you would eventually find the accounting software as well.
Fair.
We know that. And then the expense management.
And the cross-sell and the upsell,
So
that is subsequently
and
happens.
the more you buy from us, the cost of acquisition keeps going down. That's how we stay profitable. And we are able to pass that profit to the customer by keeping our prices affordable, which further helps us in retention. And that's the whole flywheel, so to say.
Fair. You know, interestingly, when you speak of these, I'm really very interested in understanding this one question. How does your marketing dashboard look like? What is your KPI set that you obsess with? What does your KPI dashboard look like every month?
Sure. So, first things first, we're very obsessed with customers.
Okay.
How many customers are we acquiring every month?
Fair.
Because that, I think, is the genesis of everything else, right?
Okay.
So customer acquisition, and as long as that is moving up, we know that we are. Of course, the sales and account management team will keep an eye on retention as well.
Sure.
And unless that number is beyond a certain percentage, there's nothing to flag there. But acquisition is one.
Sure.
Traffic to the website. Now, whether that traffic is directly mapped to a search campaign, which is a performance campaign that we're doing, or how is branded search volume going up if
Fair.
you're doing an activity for that matter.
Fair.
All that definitely comes into the play. The other thing we look at pretty extensively is, what are the land products, as I mentioned, and they may vary from region to region as well. And how is the new revenue for them growing? New revenue. That shows that, because see, what happens is,
How do you measure new revenue? New clients that you did not have earlier, of course.
yeah, so new revenue is a revenue coming into a product for the first time.
Got it.
It could be monthly, it could be annual, depending on subscription. Also, a cross-sell is a new revenue for the other product,
Fair.
right? So, and then you see how the account health. So, and the other factor that we all look very extensively is the overall ARR that a business is bringing to us.
Fair.
Right? So, you have buckets that you do, businesses that are less than 5K ARR, more than 5K, and then 25K, 50K, 100K.
Fair.
So that's the size of the account.
Sure.
What kinds of deals are you winning more? Let's say you're running a kind of a motion for enterprise marketing in a region that is essentially for mid to large size companies.
Fair.
How is that reflecting in winning larger deals? Dashboard.
And what does that cycle or the time frame look like for a B2B SaaS player like you?
I mean, okay, if you are the beauty of B2B SaaS is you could be a 5 people company coming to Zoho.com through whatever campaign or otherwise or organic search, sign up for a Zoho product, start using it, never even bother us.
All self-served.
That is where the bulk of the business is. Majority of our business is coming through inbound. Okay, organic and paid both, but essentially inbound, right? You come on the website. Our job as marketers there also is to make that self-serve motion even better. No touch, low touch. Well, ideally no touch, but low touch. The customer shouldn't have to talk to you. And everything from the knowledge base to help to onboarding, how much more can you automate or make it on demand versus picking up the phone and calling
Correct.
the company? So that is one. The other part of it is on the enterprise side, right? Enterprise sales don't happen on low touch mode, obviously, because needs are more complex.
Correct.
You're dealing with companies that have existing on cloud, on prem infrastructure.
Yes.
Secondly, you're not getting
Detailed technical conversations that will have to
and
be
you're
had.
not trying to get into a. So again, the other challenge is, and how we tackle it is, even though we have everything that you need as a business, our goal is not to enter a large organization and start to replace everything.
Fair.
We find a problem, address it as a solution that could use some of our products.
Save time for the customer.
Yeah, and it could use some products that we don't have as well. You know, we will interoperate with existing stack that they have, and then slowly and gradually they would discover other products from Zoho.
Nice.
So that's an organic way of growing, and we have seen some of the best accounts have grown that way.
Okay.
They would enter the Zoho universe with a land product, let's say our HRMS, and then slowly and gradually they find other products, and then there is opportunity to, and the beauty is they see how all of this works in a unified way because it's on one platform, so single sign-on for that matter.
Fair.
Context sharing of data between apps.
Fair.
People see value in it, and then they realize that, oh, why am I not using this? And then this. So you solve a problem, and then you move on to solve adjacent problems.
Understood.
That's how enterprise.
And that organic way is where you're finding your organization do a lot better and doing very good at that.
Yeah, and I think the job that we have as marketers within the company here is to make that discovery even more easier. The challenge of Zoho also has this is a problem to solve for, right? And you can't just throw anything at it and everything at everybody. Someone who's in the HR domain in a company may not necessarily care about your CRM at that point, whether you have one or not, right?
But you'll eventually get there.
Or how do you contextually bring that out? Whether they know that they may want to loop in their sales team or whoever else is a decision maker. So there's a lot of nuanced cross-selling. It's not very easy. You can't just keep painting every wall with 50 different products for everybody. That's noise,
Yeah.
right? I can't, just because I have a product, let's say you bought a product, a subscription from us. I have 55 products. Imagine me emailing you about each one of them every day.
Yes.
Or every other day.
It'll take you 55 days to do just
Just
that.
to that. So that's not the most efficient way of doing it. Plus, I'll be spamming the hell out of you.
Yeah.
So we have to be smart about it, right? And those are things that our teams work very extensively on. How do we bring that contextually? And it is online. It happens online. Offline. You come to an event of ours. It will be focused on one thing, but it'll give you exposure to other things as well.
Fair.
You know, very strategically.
And I liked what you said, solve real problems that customers face, because that's really truly what they're looking and going after. Praval, when we were speaking about it, there's a real problem that we need to solve for, that you guys need to solve for customers that you have, right? Now let's take a view in the life of a customer. There's so many things sweeping this guy, right? AI is, we can't have this conversation without putting AI in it, right? This customer is now upset or getting swept by hordes and hordes of disruptions that his industry is seeing or will see in the near future. And I'm sure it keeps him up at night. The same thing is happening across B2B SaaS organizations. Does AI also make you a bit sleepless? Lose hair about it?
No, that's a good question. Like you said, we couldn't wrap this without talking about AI.
Yes.
And we should, I would say. AI is something I would say we have to embrace. We are embracing. We should. The essence of that is AI for consumer world is very different from AI for businesses.
Fair.
Just like search.
Fair.
Consumer search is very different from business search. And I'll give a small example of where that differentiation comes from. Business search or business AI, so to say, AI for work, let's put it that way. needs a lot of context. Consumer search may not need
Fair.
that kind of context. For example, in an org.
And it's a bit more lenient at that as
Yes. And then, let's say in an org, there's an org structure. Or in terms of technology or this thing, there's directory. You know, the system knows who reports to him, whom,
Fair.
which team you belong to.
well. Yes.
If you're
The
a man-
matrix,
all of
the
that.
role.
So if you're my
tenure.
manager, the system knows that, and me giving a prompt that I want to know your salary will not fly.
Fair.
But if I'm an HR head, me giving the same prompt should fly.
Yeah.
So where does that context come from? It comes from the directory. Okay, the org directory, that is,
Yes.
which is technology.
Yeah.
Business tools have that context built in. When you do a search or now an AI, on top of context, it is of value to the customer. It's not just about it's not always a question of efficiency in terms of how fast it is. Okay, and that's why I say every problem in this world is not a large language model problem. Okay, you need right sizing of models. On business travel, when I stop at a coffee shop and get a cup of coffee, a receipt I have to scan.
There's no AI there yet.
No, there is some bit of AI, obviously, which is on more of machine learning, where it will scan this thing and pull out the values and segment it correctly that this is a receipt for my travel that will go in under this head. That doesn't need a large language model. It can work very well, very efficiently on a narrow language model. Vetting a legal document for my legal team and compounding that knowledge doesn't need a large language model. So what we've done lately, we've seen lately rather is, that we've made everything a LLM problem. Throw it at it, it'll solve it. Well, it will. I'm not saying it won't. But how efficient it is from energy standpoint, cost, GPUs aren't getting any cheaper, right? The thing is, in the race of acquiring this, everybody's throwing in money and GPUs at it, but the dust will settle. We've taken a rather long-term approach to this, where we believe right sizing of models is important for solving business problems.
Fair.
Using AI. Context is important.
Is very important.
And context comes from what? Context comes from your platform. And if you are a Zoho customer, your entire org runs on Zoho products, the software that you use already knows so much about your business.
Already.
Already. It has the context.
Yeah.
Now imagine how efficiently will AI work on that,
Right.
versus throwing a query or a request into a black box that doesn't understand your relationship with other people in the company and mine.
And hence that 55, 60 plus products that you have is an intentional fishing net that you've thrown onto customers at that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a good story to tell, but it was not built that way, right? Our idea was we want to be a company that solves problems for businesses. Start with one product. One became 2 and 3 and now. So we kept building for adjacent needs, adjacent functions, because essentially if you look at it, the DNA of a company is we are builders. Majority of people, you walk into the campus, most people you run into are engineers. They take a lot of pride in building. R&D is the buzzword, okay, not campaigns. Okay, so when the company is that way, and everything is built from the ground up, we run our own data centers. Okay, everything is in-house. We run our own operations. We take a lot of pride in doing things from the ground up and owning it. Okay.
And there's something very fascinating that I figured and I saw several years back. It's very rare to see a B2B SaaS company and an org like yours, complex one at that, large one at that, do and execute a campaign which is called Humans of Zoho, wherein individuals who have spent 10 years plus in the org, how you're celebrating each and every individual at that. And they're sharing organically the kind of food that they love, the summer that they like, the thing that they hate.
Yeah.
And why is it that they've been at Zoho for the last 10 years? It's a very humane way. It's a very warm way of warming people into pleasant personalities.
Yeah, now that you brought it up, I remember this came up as a conversation from within my team, and it was totally my team's idea of doing it, where we said, we don't talk enough about our people who've been behind these products. We know we own a platform, 55 products, been in the business for 30 years, profitable, private, but who are the people behind this? And most of these people won't even want to come up on stage or do a video bite or whatever. You know, they would rather work. So we built that over time, and then this team of mine, you know, we interviewed people internally. Some were comfortable with chat format, some were with voice, some with video, whatever worked. And we've started featuring. Everybody's not done yet, by the way. We have a long list of people to go to. But we
20,000?
start this initiative.
20 odd thousand people. now.
I think, I don't have the latest stats, but more than 1,000 people have been around here for a decade plus.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's the initiative that a lot of people now notice. Very organic, but again, true to who we are.
Interesting. But you know, it also speaks, the reason why I bought this a particular campaign, because A, of course, it's warm, it's nice and fuzzy, and it celebrates people that you don't usually speak about, right? Which is very nice. But at the same point of time, it speaks a lot about the way Zoho is approaching storytelling, at least in the last 5-7 years. Between 13-14 years of you being around, when you had joined then versus where you are now, where do you think the future or the next 2 years are going to be as? What is it that you're going to focus on?
See, as a company, one thing that we've done is we've built all these products over the years. And in the last 5 years, we have focused on the platform that we have. And the reason the platform works is platform makes your products or your capabilities more composable, more customizable. You know, you can build on it, you can customize it, you can
Sure.
offer industry vertical specific solutions on it. That's the platform. We've been focusing a lot on that, and that is what works best when you're dealing with large companies. We've built platforms that help some of the largest automobile players today in the country, some of the largest BFSI brands, because what they needed was not one of these 50 products. It's not off the shelf. Okay, it needs customization.
Very custom, very bespoke at that.
So when you have to build bespoke, how do you bring that out, keeping in mind
Their particular need state.
at the same time, you have quicker implementation and faster time to value. Because they don't wait for 18 months to see value out of it. In these times, especially, CIOs have mandates, they have
Correct.
pressures. They want to see quicker time, faster time to value, and that comes from quicker implementation. How does that happen? Because when you build the platform that way, that has the
Delivers.
capability of, let's say, low code, no code operation on top of it, all that makes it very agile. Getting this story out is what our upmarket team is focusing on, the enterprise team is focusing on, because historically we've done made a lot of inroads in the SMB world. But the last 5, 7, 10 years, we've worked with some of the largest companies in India across sectors. How do we reach out to more? What is that promise? How are we backing it with real customer stories? Okay. And what's
So SMBs in the country, beyond metros, problem statement number one. Second,
enterprises
enterprises.
across sectors,
Okay.
key sectors that we
Okay.
know we are already competent and capable of.
Fair.
And via everything from customer stories to putting out the proposition that we have.
Testimonials. How is it that you can gather more real impact that you've made happen on
Absolutely.
customers'
And
accounts?
all backed by no fancy campaign, but the platform itself, the platform story, how we have built it from the ground up. Just the way we build these products, how we have platformed the whole thing, and what is the value it is offering, hear it from a customer's this thing. We're focusing on that, bring that out as marketing.
But you know, Prabal, it's very interesting when we see this version of you, see this version of Zoho, where most of it's medium to long term in nature, where it is organic brand building at that. At the same point of time, the world of marketing is not that kind. It is being rogered left, right, and center with short term pressures of tell me where that organic search is headed this week. Certain degree of predictability and all of that to it. What is your piece of advice to non-marketers to build this out for fellow marketers? How is it that they should view marketing as?
Yeah, I think a lot of it also comes from the environment you're operating in. Certain companies, certain sectors, I would say, the DNA is such that my philosophy won't work there.
Okay.
I may not survive there. Let's put it that way. Okay. A lot of, and I say that when you've been at a place for long enough, who you are also gets shaped because the culture of the company rubs on you. You know, it conditions you in a certain way, and vice versa too, right? But both things go together. In a company or an environment where the whole chase is about this quarterly result, marketers will behave differently. Okay, whether they like it or not. And when you keep doing it for long enough, I think you kind of start to like it, or you feel that's the only way out. Okay. It's only when you're given that space, that canvas to paint on, you're able to think of the fact that it takes time. When you're always made to feel or believe that there's no time, okay, then
There is no time.
Yeah, then you are already on the you're
A very, very different tangent at
absolutely, and you're always accelerating. You're not slowing down at all to observe, to enjoy. So I think a lot of it is that too. Okay, and it all comes from, I would say, the genesis of the company, the DNA of the founders, the very purpose of what the company wants to do. And I joke about it a lot with my friends, that when you look at a lot of companies, when this inherent pressure comes because there's a race to exit. A lot of businesses are built to be sold, to exit, to go IPO, whatever, right? Nothing wrong with it. It's just a different school of thought. But when you are, so that vis-a-vis, when you are in a long-term business, which is private and profitable, intends to be that way. And with a firm belief that we are in the business to run it, not to run away from it. So there is no exit, right? It's just like,
In for the long haul.
yes, and what you do every day and how you push the envelope, do better the following day, inspires you to come to work. You're not looking at an exit gate. You're enjoying it.
Fabulous, fabulous. You know what, Praval? Very interesting, because this gives a very clear insight into the 30 years of Zoho. Every single individual is empowered to believe in a certain way. And I find that very endearing. I also find it very liberating to see each one of you, each one of your leadership at Zoho having a very clear, independent voice at each one of them. Your degree of comfort of putting yourselves out there is very, very refreshing. I'm sure your leadership at Zoho has done a fab job in empowering each one of you.
Yeah, like I said, that autonomy and trust drives a lot of this. You don't have, when you let people be in their skin, be who they are, let them behave the way they typically would, let them wear what they're comfortable wearing to begin with. Okay, I would happily walk on stage in a kurta over a suit. I like both, but I would prefer a kurta any day. And the fact that I'm able to do it, tells a lot about the fact that I don't have to behave in a certain way
Yeah.
to represent the company. Once you're comfortable with that thought, I think you're able to put your best work out. You're not thinking about things you shouldn't be thinking.
Correct.
You focus on what you want to do.
Yeah.
And most of my colleagues, I would say, operate with that mindset. I mean, if you ever get a chance, you're in Chennai, let me know, have you come to the campus. Walk around the campus and see youngsters, people in their mid 30s, 40s, people who would look old but they're not old, all kinds of people in the campus, walking freely. Nobody has a private office. Nobody has a private office. Okay, you'll see people sitting outside under a tree and taking calls. I think that entire environment shapes you in a way which, honestly, when I joined, I didn't know I'm signing up for this. Okay, and the world was very different 13, 14 years ago.
Yes.
Right? But I think I just got lucky. And then one thing led to the other, and happy to be here where I am. Yeah.
Fabulous. Praval, thank you. What a fascinating conversation this has been. Today, I'm pretty sure all the marketers who are listening into this conversation should have taken like a leaf or two, not a couple of words, not a couple of statements, a couple of leaves of advice that you've given everyone. Your approach also reminds each one of us, old marketers like me, that It's the core of marketing that lies within people, and it is that core of marketing that does not need to sensationalize every single human emotion that you can run after, and we should run after. Sometimes sticking to the core is what matters and can make a significant difference. Thank you for reminding us into what you call the first principles. And thank you for doing that today.
Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. We will be back very soon with another insightful discussion with the country's best marketers. Thank you.